Hello everyone, I'm GojiraFerret, and before we begin, I'd like to address a couple things. I am currently going to attempt to release a video weekly. This is for two reasons. The first, I'm trying to fill my channel's library with content quickly for you and newer viewers to enjoy. And the second reason, I'm experimenting with new techniques to become more efficient in editing and making better content. Also, I'm trying to hone my skills, especially in voiceover, so I can improve my quality of videos. The next thing I'd like to address is that I'm aware that I may have mispronounced a few names in my last review. This was an error on my part and wasn't caught till a couple days after upload. It's my first review and I'm still learning to deliver lines and also taking time to pronounce Japanese names properly. So I apologize for any past and future mess ups. Understand, I'm not Japanese myself, and I'm doing my best to understand proper pronunciations. As Michael Douglas said in Black Rain,
I'm nothing but a worthless gaijin.
Fun fact, a character in that scene, Shugai, was played by Tomisaburo Wakayama, who played Ogami Ito in Lone Wolf and Cub. But that's all I had to mention. Now on to today's review. We're reviewing another 1969 samurai drama, directed by Hiroshi Inagaki and written by Shinobu Hashimoto and Takeo Kunihiro. It stars legendary Japanese actor Toshiro Mifune and co-stars a name that was mentioned in our last review, Kinnosuke Nakamura. It chronicles the life of a great Sengoku period general of Takeda Shingen, Yamamoto Kinnosuke. Be prepared for some Japanese history lessons as we analyze this film known as Samurai Banners. Let's begin. Samurai Banners is a 1969 samurai drama based on the novel Fyorin Kazan by writer Yasushi Inoue. The film would see a screenplay written by Shinobu Hashimoto and Takeo Kunihiro. Samurai Banners would be picked up by Toshiro Mifune's own production company, Mifune Productions, where director Hiroshi Inagaki would be hired. Inagaki is recognized as one of Japan's greatest filmmakers and is famous for directing the Samurai Trilogy. Masaru Sato, another name from last review, would be responsible for the music score of the film. Cinematography would be handled by Kazuo Yamada, who would previously work with Inagaki on the movie Samurai 3, Duel at Ganryu Island in 1956. Toho would give Samurai Banners a roadshow release on February 1st, 1969, then a wide Japan release a month later. The US would see a release in June 24th of the same year. Using Kodak's Eastman color process with the Toho scope lens system, Samurai Banners was printed on a 35mm format by Tokyo Laboratory Ltd, seeing a 2-hour and 45-minute runtime. Yamamoto Kinnosuke, played by Mifune, is a ronin who discovers the ambition of another nameless ronin that plans to impress Lord Takeda's vassal Nobukata Itagaki. Yamamoto convinces the ambitious ronin to attack Itagaki so he can show his swordsmanship and impress the vassal. The ronin agrees, but it's quickly realized that it was a trick by Yamamoto to make the nameless ronin seem like a thief. Yamamoto viciously slays the ronin and takes credit for saving Itagaki, played by Keimon Nakamura, from the presumed bandit. Yamamoto Kinnosuke, along with other characters, was a real figure of the Sengoku era. He was a samurai and one of the 24 generals of Takeda Shingen, being recognized as a brilliant strategist, and his tactics were responsible for many victories of the Takeda clan. Despite being said to have a lame leg that required him to use a naginata as support, he was considered a fierce warrior who led Takeda forces to victory against Usuge Kenshin in the 4th Battle of Kawanakajima. Sadly, as you'll see in the movie, Yamamoto would fall in battle after believing his tactics led to defeat. Yamamoto Kinnosuke would charge headlong into enemy ranks in a final push for victory, leading to his death. The ronin, Yamamoto, would impress not only Itagaki, but Lord Takeda, who would be played by Kinnosuke Nakamura. Takeda Shingen is another prevalent figure in the Sengoku period. Being known as the Tiger of Kai, Takeda would see victory against his rival, Usuge Kenshin, or the Dragon of Echigo. Takeda would lead many campaigns throughout his lifetime, such as the Shinano campaign against a number of other warlords, the Kazuke campaign against Usuge, and the Soruga campaign, where he'd ally himself with Oda Nobunaga. Lord Takeda plans on launching his campaign against Suwa Yorishige, a former cousin of his. He asks his new samurai Yamamoto what he thinks, and he devises a strategy for victory against the Suwa forces. Once they arrive in Shinano, Takeda is angered when Yamamoto tells him that he does not plan on fighting a battle. Instead, he chooses a diplomatic solution by negotiating an alliance. Much to Takeda's annoyance, along with one of his samurai, Toramasa Obu, played by the legend Takashi Shimura, he sends Yamamoto to Suwa Castle. Played by Akihiko Hirata, Suwa Yorishige would welcome Takeda's messenger, Yamamoto. Both men discuss the inevitable outcome and the parameters of the proposed treaty. Suwa agrees to the alliance, and Yamamoto brings Takeda the news of their victory. Less than a year later, while Suwa is visiting Takeda's castle, he orders the slaying of Suwa. Yorishige Suwa is slain during his visit in front of many vassals. This is supposedly not what happened in real life, as after the siege of Kuwabara, Shinano province and Kuwabara castle was seized by Takeda. Yorishige was then forced to commit seppuku. After Suwa's death, Itagaki raids Takashima Castle, where it's discovered that Suwa's remaining retainers were already dead, committing seppuku. Yamamoto discovers Princess Yu, acted by Yoshiko Sakuma, who is Suwa's daughter, attempting seppuku. She berates Yamamoto's honor, as he was the one to call for her father's death, and chooses to be taken prisoner instead of death. While Takeda plans his next domain to attack, he commands Yamamoto to convince Princess Yu to be his concubine. Yu angrily refuses in a powerfully acted scene, but after Takeda's wife mocks her for being just a concubine and her lineage dying, Yu agrees to bear Takeda's child to continue the Suwa bloodline. The next campaign begins. Yamamoto leads Takeda forces to Toishi Castle, where they clash with Lord Murakami's military. During the conflict, Takeda learns that Yu has bore him a son and calls to have his soldiers withdraw back to Kai. Yamamoto disagrees and warns that if they pull back, it would give the enemy time to regroup and reinforce, and Toishi Castle will be out of reach. Takeda agrees and allows Yamamoto to approach Toishi Castle with his military. Once there, Yamamoto uses the severed heads of fallen soldiers to intimidate and convince the remaining soldiers holed up in Toishi Castle to surrender, a bloody tactic that works. While back in Kai, Yasuge Norimasa's troops are seen moving towards Kai domain with nearly 22,000 men. Takeda has Yamamoto personally recall Itagaki to face Yasuge's troops in the Fufuki Pass. Itagaki, proud, shows Yamamoto that he had his men paint their armor red. This is believed not only to make them stand out in battle, but to intimidate their opponents. Itagaki's men in red are victorious, and even though we don't see the battle, we see Princess Yu being told of the Takeda force's victory against Yasuge's military at Fufuki Pass. Yamamoto and Itagaki remain on Fufuki Pass to make sure that no further advancements from Yasuge's forces are attempted. While eating and drinking, a drunk Itagaki admits that he would not support Yu's son as their heir to the Takeda clan, and that not only is the child in danger, but so is Yu. If Takeda is to die, the First Lady Sanjo would have her loyal retainers slay the concubine and her child. He advises that Yamamoto should have Yu moved back to Suwa domain and reside safely in Takashima Castle. Princess Yu and her child are escorted to Suwa domain, but after discovering that this is permanent, Yu escapes. Yamamoto quickly finds her and confronts her. The angry princess once again delivers a powerful scene and explains that she plans to kill Takeda for the death of her father. The conflict between Takeda and Murakami continues, where we finally see a full-scale battle take place. During the fight between thousands of samurai forces, we see Murakami himself leading his men into battle, as well as this giant odachi being wielded by 3 men. Let's stop really fast. What is this? Look at its blade flopping around. I don't know what it is. Research has only led me to it being a 15th century blade known as the Norimitsu Odachi. This massive thing cuts down wave after wave of soldier that are unlucky enough to be in its massive swipe. Yamamoto and his men charge into battle, which ends in victory against Murakami and his forces. After the battle, Takeda and Yamamoto are given the horrible news: Itagaki has died in battle. We see Yamamoto mourn the death of his fallen friend in a well-acted scene by Mifune. Later, Takeda is convinced by Yamamoto to become a monk and follow the holy path for 3 years. This is a plan devised by Yamamoto so he can protect Princess Yu from being slain, knowing a monk is not allowed to raise a hand towards a woman. The 2 men become monks, and Takeda takes the name Shingen, while Yamamoto takes the name Doki. The new monks are reminded of their rival Yasuge, and Takeda has his general spy on Echigo's forces. Yasuge was another figure in the Sengoku era. He was a 15th century daimyo of the Nagao clan. he would be recognized by and is depicted wearing a white hood. The first of 4 battles of Kawanakajima would commence as Princess Yu succumbs to an illness and passes away, much to the devastation of Yamamoto. The film comes to its climax at the 4th battle of Kawanakajima. After seeing the young lord Katsuyori Takeda dressed in samurai armor, Yamamoto is filled with pride and resolve as he and Takeda meet their rival on the foggy battlefield. Using the low visibility of the fog, Yusuke and his Echigo forces flank Takeda's army. Yamamoto is discouraged and believes he had made a fatal blunder. Thinking his strategy had failed and seeing many of Takeda's men die, he decides to take his remaining soldiers and plunge deep into Echigo's samurai. Purposely targeting Yusuke, Yamamoto avoids conflict with Ashigaru and other enemies in a mad dash to cut down his rival. Yusuke is then seen wearing his white hood, but is accompanied by other soldiers clad in his signature headwear. This confuses Takeda's men, and Yusuke surrounds the lord. Yusuke taunts Takeda by making passes with his sword, succeeding in cutting the lord's cheek. Meanwhile, Yamamoto's army is cut down to single digits as archers kill the remaining soldiers. Yamamoto continues fighting, despite being mortally wounded. Yamamoto would finally witness that victory for the Takeda forces is possible as Itagaki's men in red enter the fray and turn the tide of battle. Succumbing to his wounds, Yamamoto Kinnosuke falls in battle, knowing that he had died victorious. Thanks to Tohoscope and Kuzio Yamada, these massive battles were captured in their entirety. Though the colors and wide shots aren't to the level of like Goyakin, but we are comparing apples to oranges. Yamada still uses a great mix of colors. I will say though, the use of red is prominent, and I'm not sure if that was purposely done, as historically Takeda was known to have fierce red banners flown in battle. The strongest point of this film was the acting. You already have one of the greatest actors, Toshiro Mifune, casted as the lead, followed by Kinnosuke Nakamura, who at this time had 15 years of experience under his belt. But the best acting came from actress Yoshiko Sakuma, who played Princess Yu. She was given the most powerful scenes and the most complex character. She wasn't some samurai looking for his next battle. She was a casualty of those battles. Her life had been turned upside down by the death of the Suwa clan, and that she had to convey the emotions of anger and eventual acceptance as she developed throughout the storyline. It is a pity that she wasn't given a death scene to the end of her character's saga. I feel she could have given us one more amazing performance as she is taken by her illness. As the acting implies, this movie is primarily a drama, so the action scenes are few and far between during the 3-hour runtime. And we're only given one sword duel at the very beginning. This duel is amazing as you get a good old-fashioned dismemberment. You're mistaken if you think this duel is setting the pace of the fight scenes. Afterwards, the rest of the action is depicted on the battlefield. Large-scale battles with infantry swinging swords and spears at each other as the vanguard rush by on their horses. The final scene with Yamamoto making his final stand would be the bloodiest you get, even more so than the dismemberment at the beginning. Maybe it's the lighting or the fact that they hold on the shot of Mifune with an arrow in his eye socket longer. I will say, it's nice to see Ashigaru rolling in the mud and frantically attempting to slay each other. It gives the battles a more gritty rawness that you don't usually get with heavily choreographed sword duels. But I still would like to know, what's up with that massive Odachi? If someone who can help could comment, please, I need this knowledge. Samurai Banners is definitely not heavy on the action, but the runtime is consisting of many lines of dialogue. Dialogue consists of politics and battle strategy. This is a drama, and a historical one at that. While most movies focus solely on the battle, Samurai Banners focuses on the discussions between lords and generals about their next move and the repercussions of them. I can't say I'm entirely against this. I do enjoy seeing what consideration goes into a battle, especially if it serves the overall narrative. Then again, I like my action, and I found that the dialogue where a messenger just tells our leads that either a battle is won or a character has died less fulfilling. I'd much rather see the death of Itagaki than to just hear about it and see the aftermath. Not only would it be more exciting and fulfilling to the viewer, it would also pay respect to the character who has been there throughout the majority of the narrative. Thankfully, dialogue is backed up by more of Masaru's compositions. Not much can be said, as the acting and narrative take hold of you and the music fades into the background, which I guess in the scale of this movie is what it should do. It's a 3-hour drama that makes you think not only the considerations of a battle, but the repercussions. This is a historical epic that takes very few liberties and tries to tell you a true story of a battle-hardened and well-known Sengoku figure. joined by many other historical figures as well, which gives this movie more depth. It's a story about a man whose prowess wrote him into the history books and brought many victories to the Takeda clan. The battles are vast and gritty. You feel the weight of everything, especially during the last battle when Yusuke begins to claim victory and Yamamoto believes he has failed. Acting is the strongest aspect though, and I wish it could have been utilized just a bit more, as this movie is predominantly dialogue. There is supposedly a love triangle with Takeda, Yamamoto, and Yu, but it wasn't very prevalent. It would have been awesome to add more drama into the dialogue and give these actors more opportunities to give a strong monologue. I'm still grateful though for the powerful scenes we get from the cast. Me being a Japanese history fan, I enjoyed this movie a bit more than maybe someone who isn't. For those who aren't familiar with Japanese history, it's still a good drama and stands up decently on its own merits. Then again, if you're looking for action and blood, you want to look somewhere else. Wow, this was a long movie, but I hope you enjoyed my review of Samurai Banners. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and comment down below on your thoughts about the film. If you'd like more content and want to stay up to date, give Samurai Cinema a subscribe. I'm GojiraFerret, and thank you for watching.